And good evening, everybody, from Breezy Point, New York, as we look back at Sandy and talk about, of course, all night could it happen again. And it means a lot, obviously, if you live here and you're trying to rebuild and get your life back to order. But let's talk to a gentleman, not as the leading anchorman in this country, but as a Jersey boy who grew up in this area and saw landmarks that he visited year after year go underwater and become deeply devastated. So I'm going to bring in Brian Williams, my good friend. Brian, I remember talking to you that evening, this evening, a year ago today, watching the water come in at the Battery. Did you ever think there would be such destruction in an area that you grew up in?
No, Jim, I did not. And I said to David Gregory this weekend on Meet the Press, if I have a mea culpa, if I have a confession, it's that I think we were trying not to show any kind of coverage favoritism to the New York area. We all lived through and covered Katrina, some of us for many days and weeks, and I should have called this what it was. It was Katrina for this part of the country. We had no way of knowing it was going to hit us on our bad side with that much ferocity. I talked to Brian Norcross as a Jersey Shore resident the night before landfall. Bad high tide cycles. We watched that angry water coming up, and Brian was telling us we could be in an inundation zone. So we're all in this together. I've got my own reality in New Jersey that I saw all summer and see on weekends. I come over here to Breezy Point. I visit again. And you see the same kind of slow motion recovery. We were going great guns there for a while, and then everything seems to slow down. You wait for checks, you wait for approval, you wait for finances.
Brian, it's Brian Norcross. I grew up down on Long Beach Island, and you're a little bit north. The old timers down on Long Beach Island in central New Jersey there remember the big storm back in the early 60s, and now everybody knows Sandy. Do you think this will fundamentally change how people prepare, build, get ready for storms of the future?
Well, that storm you're talking about in LBI cleaved it into more than one Long Beach Island, and we had breaches up and down the Jersey Shore. We had 7 total breaches between Barnegat Bay and the Atlantic Ocean in a 5-mile area. That's what haunts me, is looking out at the water and looking at these places inland that we all know and love. Places without which we wouldn't have any summer memories. Knowing the water came through once, knowing the water came through twice, hearing what we do from gentlemen like you and climate scientists, that's the part we can't shake. So I think we're all going to rely on smarter folks than ourselves to tell us how we live with a changing world, if that's indeed what's going on here.
Hey, Brian, we got about 30 seconds left. Do you think at this point we're as far as you expected us to be, or are you happy, with where we're at in terms of the recovery?
I don't think anybody's happy, but this is one of the lessons I learned after Katrina. You got to think 5 to 7 years out. We're all anxious for everything to be back to normal, but see you next year. We'll come back next summer. That is only true in very few cases.
Thank you, Brian. We appreciate your time.
All right, thanks, Brian.